everybody, and welcome to another episode of Coming on Milhouse. Today, we talked about Season 6, Episode 16, Bart versus Australia.
Bart versus Australia. This is one that I remember being a very good one from this season. So, of course, Bart decides that he wants to see if the water will flow clockwise or counterclockwise or however it goes in the southern hemisphere. So he calls Australia to get their take on it and ends up racking up a $900 collect call bill. They aren't too happy about it, and they come after Bart to demand an apology, which will take place in Australia. But there's a twist. The apology comes with a boot to the bum.
A boot to the bum.
A boot to the bum. And Homer and Bart are none too happy about that. And a lot of Australia-based jokes in this one, which is good. It's a good humored, funny stuff, I think. And one of my favorites from the season, definitely.
It's a pretty good one.
It is a good one.
I did find it humorous because he calls other places in the southern hemisphere and racks up quite a phone bill that Homer just writes a check for. It's never questioned in this whole episode.
Nope.
And the other thing is the guy with the boot that does the boot to the bum, or, no spoilers, watch the episode and find out what happens, but his leg was pretty muscular, so he must have to wear that boot on one leg all the time. It was more muscular than his other leg, so...
He boots a lot of bums outside.
Just had to point that out. So.
Taking the lines. Give me your first line.
Taking the lines. Let's see. In fact, in Ray and McNally, they wear hats on their feet and hamburgers eat people. Because Bart has never opened his globe that Grandpa gave him, and so during this whole episode, the beginning of the conversation, Lisa points out that in the southern hemisphere, anything under the equator, this line right here, the water flows the opposite way than it does in America. And Bart didn't know what the globe was, and he found the country, Rand McNally, a.k.a. the company that created the globe. But and he really believed Lisa for saying that.
Well, he's used to Lisa knowing her stuff, so I guess he figured that was a real thing.
Deadpan Lisa. What about you?
All right, so a state guy, a government guy comes, and it's voiced by Phil Hartman, of course. And he comes to their house to try to find a solution. And first he's like, let's send Bart to prison for 5 years. And of course Marge is like, no, you're going to have to find another country to have relations with. And then he decides, okay, well, they'll drop the charges if you guys go and apologize. And Bart says, I can handle that. I'm an expert at phony apologies. And Marge says, Bart! And he says, I'm sorry. And then she's like, well, that's better. And he's like,
So all expenses paid round trip to Australia for an apology in this episode. $900.
Pretty good deal. Yeah. Homer's happy about that. So. All right, what about line 2?
Oh, what am I going to go with? Okay. All right. You win. I see you've played Knifey Spoony before. Now it's a representation of a joke from the 80s movie Crocodile Dundee. And Bart's playing with a knife in the pub. And some guy that looks like Crocodile Dundee, Paul Hogan, comes over and he says, that's not a knife. This is a knife. And Bart says, that's a spoon. All right.
So Knivesy Spoonsy is a game they play a lot in Australia.
Apparently so. What about you?
So the booting scene, the butt kicking scene. So the Phil Hartman guy's name is Conover, and so we find out that Bart thinks he's just got to apologize, and then we find out that no, it also comes with a kick in the butt. And Homer's like, "What kind of terrible country would do something like this?" Something like that. And Conover says, "Disparaging the boot is a bootable offense. It's one of their most proudest traditions." And then the camera comes up, and there's the flag, the Australian flag, and it's a boot and a butt.
A naked butt.
A bare butt and a boot about to kick it. And I thought that was so funny because that's their proudest tradition, is booting on the butt. I went with it.
Good. What about your favorite scene?
So, I want you to guess what you think my favorite scene is.
Well, what I would totally guess, since you quote it often, is America, Australia, America, Australia.
You are correct.
Okay. I was going to be really shocked if you didn't go with
I
it.
had to. It's the best scene ever. So, of course, they're in the embassy, and they go to step outside the gate of the embassy. Bart notices that there's a sign that says, "Now leaving American soil." Mm-hmm. He doesn't understand that because they're in Australia. And then the Marine explains, well, the embassy is considered American soil. And, of course, Homer just can't leave that go, or he's got to take it too far. So he starts thinking he's clever, and he steps out onto Australia, and he's like, "I'm in Australia." Then he steps back into the embassy. "I'm in America, Australia." And he keeps going back and forth. And everybody gets annoyed, and they're like, "I know, Dad, shut up, it's fine, I get it." And then the Marine punches him in the face and says, "Here in America, we don't tolerate that kind of crap, sir." It's so good. I love it. It's hilarious. So I'm always walking around the house going, "I'm in America, Australia, America, Australia." So I figured you would be able to pinpoint my scene.
I knew as soon as this episode was the next one that we were watching that was going to be.
You'd have been disappointed if it wasn't, so I had to go.
Honestly, it was either going to be a quote or a scene, and I figured you would go with the scene. So,
all right, what's your scene?
Well, I really appreciate the pub scene, that the family's all in this Australian pub, and specifically Homer orders the largest beer that they have, and it's basically a barrel of Foster's.
Australian for beer.
Yes, and then Marge orders a cup of coffee. You mean beer? Coffee. And then they get in an argument. So she gets in an argument with the barkeep because she wants coffee, and he's like, "Beer, coffee, beer." So.
And I like how she goes, "Coffee," and he goes, "Beer."
It's just a really funny scene. Funny moment.
It's great. Good scenes. This episode's full of them.
How about your loser this week?
My loser. So this kind of goes a little bit earlier in the episode when Bart is calling around to all these places in the southern hemisphere, and he calls a research station in the South Pole because he wants to know how their toilets are draining, to see if they're draining clockwise or counterclockwise. Mm-hmm. And the guy's like, "Hold on, I'll check." And his toilet is frozen over. And then this other dude comes in wanting to use the toilet, and he's got the Sports Illustrated Swimsuit Edition magazine in his hand. And he says, "Oh man, not again." So I figured these guys don't have a working toilet in the South Pole. It's froze over and they need to go. Yikes. So
Trouble
in paradise.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So those guys were my losers this week.
Good point. I'm going to go with the guy on the roof that Bart's calling around to all these different countries, and there's a guy on his roof because the house is floating in a stream of lava, and the phone on the phone pole, like the payphone, goes by in this stream of lava passing the house, and he reaches out to answer the phone because it's ringing and falls off the roof. So I'm going with that guy. I don't know where that was, but too bad for him.
Right. He probably shouldn't have reached for that phone.
But also I'm not sure that he was going to make it out of that scene to begin with.
Pretty sure your house doesn't float on lava for long.
No.
Bad day for that dude.
Yep. So, and what about your winner?
You know, I actually had a hard time even finding a winner in this one because I don't like to go with the obvious things like Bart and Lisa.
Sure.
You know,
Same.
Of course Bart won, but I look for something. So I'm actually gonna go with the koala at the very end of the episode. So there's this whole gag about Bart brings a frog. You're not supposed to bring outside animals, and it gets loose and it runs amok, and there's frogs everywhere. And you destroying crops because frogs eat crops, I guess. As they're flying away, they're all laughing. Like Homer's like, "Ha, look at that!" And then there's a koala hanging on to the outside of the helicopter, and it's like dun, 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 focuses in on its eye. Dun. So we know this koala is going to come to America and wreak some havoc around here, and probably eat all our crops because I guess frogs can eat theirs, koalas can eat ours. So I figure that koala is going to come here and start it up. So he seemed pretty tough, and he's my winner.
He was your winner.
Yeah.
Well, oddly enough, this episode is very full of losers, and I also had a hard time picking a winner, and I did write down a koala, but I will go with a backup option, and I'm going to go reference one of your moments, which is actually your scene, and I'm going with the Marine, because not only does he get to punch Homer once when he's being up to no good, jumping between countries, the second time, or the first time really, that he punches Homer. So 2 punches of Homer Snosh. He is my winner this episode because at the beginning of them arriving at the embassy, Homer is taunting him, teasing him, thinking that he's like the British Parliament guards. And the Marine says he doesn't tolerate that kind of stuff and punches him in the nose for that. So that's my winner this week.
I like it. He's cool.
Yeah. So as always, please share your winners and losers, your favorite scenes, your favorite quotes in the comments below. Again, this was season 6, episode 16, Bart versus Australia. The next episode is also a versus episode. So stay tuned for our next episode review, also season 6. And then for October, we usually get into the Treehouse of Terror episode. So we'll put a pause on the season 6 episodes and jump right into Treehouse of Terror.
Yep, we got some good things coming with that, so check back in soon.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right, well, thanks again for watching. We really appreciate it. We'll be back soon, and until then, Jiminy Jokers!
Look, boy, now I'm in Australia. Now I'm in America. Australia, America.
I get it, Dad.
America, Australia.
Homer,
America,
that's
Australia,
enough.
America, Australia. America.
Oh! Here in America, we don't tolerate that kind of crap, sir!